Welcome back to Learning How. Today we are learning about Rembrandt.
Today we are learning about Rembrandt van Rijn. He was born in 1606 and died in 1699. He is from, where does he eat a snack? The Netherlands. You can see right here. All right, Rembrandt was the 9th child in his family. He came from a very wealthy family because his family was also able to, even though he was the 9th kid in his family, they were able to pay for his education and he was able to become an artist. So he opened his own studio when he was 19 years old and he started teaching people to paint when he was 21. Rembrandt is considered one of the greatest portrait artists in all of history. And portraits were very important because cameras were not invented. So if you wanted to record what you or a family member or a loved one looked like, or maybe even a beloved pet, you needed an artist to draw a portrait. Some important things that are going on in history at the time of Rembrandt. In 1632, Galileo publishes his idea about the universe. And then in 1666, the Great Fire of London destroys 4/5 of London. What happened? Did you get boo-boo? If you are doing the handwriting practicing in one of your appendices inside your student booklet, you can practice writing one of Rembrandt's quotes, which says, "Practice what you know, and it will help to make clear what you do not know." That's good wisdom there. The first piece of art that we are going to study from Rembrandt is right here, and it is called The Return of the Prodigal Son. And this is a parable that is found in Luke chapter 15 in the Bible. It is one of Rembrandt's final paintings. It was painted less than 2 years before he died, and is considered one of the greatest paintings ever painted. Or some others maybe just describe it as maybe one of the most moving paintings ever painted in history, of all of history. And so, a parable is a simple story used to illustrate a moral or spiritual lesson. If you are unfamiliar with the parable of the prodigal son, please go check it out. It's a great story. The next piece of art that we are going to study from Rembrandt is called The Night Watch. This is a really large painting. It is 14 feet long and almost about 12 feet tall, so it's humongous. This is a portrait of Captain Banning Conk and his militiamen. And what is interesting about this picture is that it shows depth. Depth is a way of painting that shows the objects that are near some other objects, or maybe they're more far away, so it shows like that it's just not all straight in a line. Because back then, people were used to only doing portraits where everybody would just line up straight and just draw them, looking all the same height. But in this picture, you can see that people have different heights, and then there's different levels in the picture. Like these guys are in the foreground, these guys are in the background. It shows that there is just depth to this picture, and they're all doing something different, and they have different expressions on their faces, and they have different objects in their hands. So there's a lot of movement and depth to this picture. The third piece of art that we are going to study is called The Anatomy Lesson of Dr. Toll. I must say that this picture is actually cropped. And so if you want to see the full picture, make sure you ask your parents for permission because it does show an actual surgical lesson. So there is body parts in here that we have censored just so you won't be so grossed out for maybe those who are squeamish or don't want to see human body parts. But this actually shows the whole anatomy.
It sounds kind of disgusting.
This picture was painted in 1632 for the Amsterdam Guild of Surgeons. And so back then, surgeries were an event for the whole community. And these are actual people observing the surgery. That the historians actually know their names. So these are actual, real people that attended this surgery. Anatomy is the part of science that studies the structure of human bodies and animal bodies, and that parts that make it form a living thing. See how Rembrandt uses light and shadows to show the focal point in the picture. Rembrandt was famous within his portraits for being able to capture people's personalities. And that is why people flocked to him, that they really wanted him to be able to capture their portraits of themselves or of their loved ones, because he really did a great job of being able to capture the person's personality within the picture. One interesting fact about Rembrandt is he was very popular during his lifetime. People really wanted him to create their portraits. But although he had so much success and he probably made a good bit of money, he really never had much money because he enjoyed spending money. He had a really expensive house and he enjoyed collecting fine art and objects. So even though he was probably made a considerable amount of money, he never really had much money left over because he spent it so frequently and so much. And when he died, he was actually very poor. Our fourth and final piece of artwork from Rembrandt that we are going to study is called The Storm on the Sea of Galilee. It was painted in 1633 and it's based off the Mark IV Bible passage. This is the only painting that Rembrandt ever created of a seascape. And a seascape is a painting of the sea. What is really interesting about this painting is that in 1990, so not so long ago, this painting was stolen from a museum in Boston, Massachusetts, and it still has not yet to be discovered. This week for learning how, you are going to choose 3 objects that you are going to draw, and you're going to use the light and shadow on 2 of the objects to be able to help focus on the one object you want to focus on. So you're going to use shadows and light to be able to try to draw attention to the one object out of the 3 that you want to draw attention to. Then you're going to take your drawing, and when you're completely finished, and you're going to go to one of your family members and ask, can you tell which object that I want you to focus on? What is your focal point within this painting? See if they can guess it right.
Subscribe to your channel and just a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the notification bell for you to hear our newest episodes. So stay tuned. See you guys later. Bye. And help us get that golden play button.